This is actually my neighborhood, the preserve at Binks Forest here in Wellington. As you can see, there's a lot of damage, a lot of uprooted trees. Chris, let's show this one here. This is one of our neighbors' homes. A lot of police in the area, firefighters, of course. They're going door to door on just checking in on homeowners, making sure they're okay. Mr. Calvin here, we're live on the air. Thank you for letting us get a peek here. A lot of tile from his roof on the floor. Yeah, show us in the back. And as we walk here, just explain again what you told me earlier, what it sounded like.
It sounded like a bomb went off. All of a sudden there was nothing, and then an explosion.
All right,
and
my
my backyard, my patio back here by my pool just exploded.
All right.
When did you see it?
Watch your step there.
So you're saying the 92 mile per hour.
Hani Rodriguez reporting from the Binks area.
And that can be really an emotional thing because that's her neighborhood. Those are her neighbors.
We want to reestablish the signal and ask Hani. We're praying that Hani's home is okay. I had a friend of ours who had called that I was reciting to you on air as it was happening. We're being hit by a tornado. Their home shaking. This particular person says it looks like they are unscathed, but they said, we're looking at the Wellington tornado. And they said literally they could feel their home shaking, stepped outside, seeing damage. Let us know the second that we might reestablish a signal with Hani. We know she lives in and around that area. Talking to Matt, our producer, want to make sure that while she's doing stalwart work for us, that she and her family are okay, as we hope and pray for so many of you across our community tonight. As you look at Wellington right now, where this blew through, and there's absolutely, from people who describe it, you heard the gentleman talk about it. People always describe it a freight train. It
yeah, and that's exactly the way it sounds because I've heard them before. Yeah.
And this is the Wellington tornado.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
That's probably a transformer, I imagine, blowing back there as it made its way along, Steve, as you're looking in on this footage as it blew through Wellington, the Binks area where Hani will try and reestablish contact. We saw the big flash. I suspect that was a transformer blowing.
Wow.
There, but look at that.
That is incredible. So that was a storm. Oh, Hani's back, so let's...
so let's go to
her. Hani, just to begin, we appreciate your stalwart duty. Are you and your family okay? Is your home okay?
Yes. My husband and the kids are okay. I was able to just put a phone call to him. I mean, I'm literally right across the street from my house. He says a lot of damage in the back. I'm going to try to take you guys there after this. We're with Mr. Calvin. He was so kind to let us in his home and show us the back. If you just want to reiterate what you said earlier, it sounded to you like a bomb went off.
Yeah, I was talking to my son-in-law in Boynton. He says, a tornado coming your way. And I said, really? I was watching television. I saw on television they were announcing something near Wellington. And just about that time, my backyard back in the patio here just exploded. It sounded like a bomb going off. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Everything just started flying. And the trees came down and tore the screen out and stuff back here. There's my screen door.
A lot of debris in the pool too.
Yeah.
And you actually have a lot of damage to your roof as well.
Yeah,
a lot of your tiles flew off.
Tiles are off, yeah. I have to.
And I know I asked you earlier, law enforcement's just going door to door, asking people if they're okay.
Yeah, they came by here to check on us and we were okay.
And your daughter came by too, which is nice.
She did, yeah. And her house is about 2 miles over here and she wasn't hit at all.
Okay.
I think our house caught the brunt of it because it was like an explosion. Everything everywhere.
Yeah, there's the preserve at Binks Forest. We're right on Wellington National Golf Course, and I know Chris is showing you here the yard. I mean, there's just trees. The screen enclosure here completely ripped. This section over here too. And if you look here, this is the golf. Their home backs up into the golf course here in Wellington, and a lot of these cypress trees, came down. And I want to be careful, but just to kind of give you a look. A big mess here in the yard and also a big mess out front. There's homes just, as soon as you come into the community, left and right, that have significant damage. So I'm going to toss things back to you guys in studio. I'm going to check on my family and hopefully just give you guys a better look of what, the rest of the community looks like.
Hani, we're exceedingly glad. We know how emotionally invested, it's hard to imagine reporting on a story that just barely missed your own home. And so we appreciate your courage in telling the story. Hani, I do want to ask, at least at first glance, you're not seeing ambulances gathered. There's no indication. That gentleman, thankfully, is okay. I know a friend I talked to. Is there any sense that there are injuries or a lot of ambulances showing up, or any ambulances there? What is your sense of that?
You know, Michael, we have seen dozens of fire trucks. Some came into our neighborhood with police, but most of them kept going south on Binks. And so we're trying to figure out if Aero Club Drive, for instance, if they have seen some of the damage. So we'll just have to, start driving it around again and then just figuring out where they all went. But we saw like across the street where the Wawa is, there was damage there. There was a car accident. A car was completely smashed. So we know police were responding to that. Further down Line Country Safari, so further west on Southern, there was also, a lot of police lights and firefighters and ambulances. So we're trying to get a sense of, where else is there a lot of damage. We know Royal Palm Beach also had damage.
Hani, go hug your family. We're so glad they're okay. We wish everybody impacted there, indeed all have been impacted across our region on, frankly, this nightmarish afternoon. Tornadoes dropping out of the sky in a way none of us, Tanya, me, Steve Weigel, anybody in our newsroom, in fact, anybody we've talked to, Steve, has ever seen. Hani, we're glad they're okay. Go home, give them a big hug.
Think about if Hani's still there. Hani and I had a conversation 2 days ago about whether she should put up hurricane shutters. And I said, the winds may not reach hurricane strength, but you may have to deal with tornadoes. And it was obviously at the time a very slight threat. But think about it now, Hani. It was the right decision.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad that we did. And part of the reason why, for our family, because I have to be at work, as you guys all know, my husband's home with the kids alone. So he said, I'm going to put up shutters. We'll get the practice in. And if something happens, God forbid, I'm not going to be scrambling last minute. We have accordion shutters, so that certainly helps. So he didn't want to be scrambling last minute. And now he's glad he did, because you just never know. And it's just insane how these tornadoes, Steve, you've talked about how they kind of just hop from place to place, and they could have missed, like the neighbor right next to Mr. Calvin's, it was just their tree. Nothing happened to their roof. But then over on his house, he had, all the damage back here, roof tiles just flying all over the place. Right across, we have a big pond sort of just across the street, and all those cypress trees are just completely snapped in half.
And that's all flying debris that goes into other houses and other vehicles, and that's another reason why hurricane shutters are so great. Thankfully, you're fine, Hani.
Yeah, and Hani, please tell Mr. Calvin we're glad that he's okay.
Glad that all of your neighbors, our hearts go out.
Terrifying.
It's personal for us because Hani's a good friend, but it's also personal
Yeah,
for us.
there's lots of homes with damage here.
We care about all